Hi everybody, this is Dan Talk Sense, and today I'm going to tell you about 4 fragrances which you should buy in their original formulation because they have since been heavily reformulated and they are a shadow of their former self. Let's go. Okay, now the first fragrance I'll talk to you about is Viktor & Rolf Spice Bomb EDT. The first formulation of this one was between 2012 and 2015. You had a really fresh and juicy, prominent grapefruit at the top of the fragrance, which really caught your eye. The fragrance was super sweet and super potent in its first formulation. The way to find a first formulation of Spice Bomb is to look at the bottom of the bottle. This one, 38, it starts with the batch code. Any Spice Bomb that starts with a 3 as the batch code is its first formulation, which was 2012 to 2015. Once it gets past 2050, they changed the batch code to start with a 6. And in my experience, when they did that, the projection and performance of the fragrance was reined in. So with more modern batches of Spice Bomb, you get about 2 to 3 hours of moderate projection. With the first formulation, you'd get all day super potent projection. It lasted all day and got me loads of compliments. I spent a number of years tracking down original formulations of Spice Bomb, and I have 3 bottles now in my collection of original formulation Spice Bomb, and you should do that as well. The second fragrance where you should get an original formulation of is La Nuit de l'Homme by Yves Saint Laurent. Now the way to find an original formulation of this fragrance is the batch code should be 4 digits. Now these are getting harder and harder to find. I had to pay 90 quid for this, but it smells amazing. And the main difference between the earliest batches of La Nuit de l'Homme and more modern batches is that you have a really prominent cardamom note. It is rich, and the fragrance will give you nice moderate projection for a good 5 to 6 hours with the original. More modern batches, the cardamom is not as prominent and will only give you about an hour or 2 of moderate projection. It makes a big difference. This is probably the perfect date night scent. It smells absolutely amazing, and whenever I've wore it for dates, it's gave me lots of compliments. This is a beautiful fragrance, but you do need to get it in its original formulation to get the full experience of La Nuit de l'Homme by Yves Saint Laurent. Now the third fragrance which I believe you should get in its original formulation is Dior's Fahrenheit. And the way to find an earlier batch of Dior Fahrenheit is, instead of saying Dior at the bottom of the bottle, it will say Christian Dior Paris. Now, the difference between older batches of Dior's Fahrenheit and more modern batches is that you get this really prominent gasoline petroleum note. Now, remember when you were younger and you sat in the back of your parents' car at the petrol station and you smelt that petrol smell, and I don't know, I might be weird, but I used to find it really nice to smell that petrol smell, but that is what you get in the original formulations of Dior's Fahrenheit. It was super prominent, super brave by the house to bring out a fragrance which smelled of petroleum gasoline, but it did, and it was super potent, and it gave you good strong projection all day. More modern batches haven't got the same gasoline note in there, which made it unique, iconic fragrance. So if you want to find an original version of Dior's Fahrenheit, look out for Christian Dior at the bottom of the bottle rather than just Dior. Now, last but not least, this is Jean Paul Gaultier's Le Mal. This was released in 1995, and when it was first released, this was a super potent clubbing fragrance, massive room filler, massive compliment getter. Now, this is a really fresh and minty fragrance with lavender and vanilla in there. And more modern batches of this have been reined in. You probably get about an hour's moderate projection. With the original formulation of this would last you all day, and when I spray it on, it's going to be my fragrance of the day. It is superb juice, super potent and super clean, and it gives me great memories of the 90s. If you want to find an original batch of this, then you look at the bottom of the can. If it starts with an A, that's 1995, starts with a B, that's 96, and then so forth. This starts with an F, so we're looking about the year 2000 and 2001. and this is still super potent. It won't have the website at the bottom of the can either, because that was a more later development with websites, of course, internet. So earlier batches won't say the Jean Paul Gaultier's website, more modern batches do. There's a few things to look out for. I've done a full video on all of these fragrances and how to find a vintage batch of each one, so check out my YouTube channel if you want to know more about how to find a more vintage batch of all the fragrances I mentioned today. Thank you for watching.